All right, and welcome to another episode of things you didn't know, but you're gonna find out, or maybe you already knew, and you might use them or you might not. Ah, shoot. I should have rehearsed this part. Okay, so this is a really quick video, like always, on how to uh, dealing with the topic of sucking out reds from your images. So this is a video I like to call hulking them up, a method taught by Peter Hurley on the Headshot Crew live crewcast. The phrase hulking them was coined by Lee Crow. I'm citing my sources, people, and you should too. Okay, I had way too much fun with this, and now I'm embarrassed. So here's an image of Rachel. I've pushed her to a little bit more on the red side than I usually would, bringing into um, Photoshop. This is also, these are techniques that you could deal with in Capture One beforehand, but I'm going to just show you quick ways to do this in Photoshop. So her overall skin tone, a little bit red. But the whole image is a little bit leaning towards a magenta hue. So what you're going to do is open it up, obviously, suss it out, uh, go down to your adjustment layers if you're thinking you have a problem like this. And I would say that in like 95% of my images, I push a little bit this way and bring it back in Photoshop um, because I like the overall otherwise. I love the overall otherwise. Ah, the wonders of doing this at 10:15 on a Saturday night because I'm a party animal and I just retouched 5 headshots. Okay, you're going to open up your adjustment layers. Go down to Hue Saturation and click that open. Get a adjustment layer above your background layer. Now change your master to reds. This way you're only dealing with the reds, right? These are just the reds. Those are all the glorious reds. Now, let's pull this color wheel up again because I think this is just a really wonderful way to look at this. If you are trying to, if you have too many reds, what you don't want to do is you do not want to desaturate them because then we get into Zombie Town and nobody likes Zombie Town. Seriously, it's not cool. I would never want to live there. So what you want to do instead of sucking out the reds is you want to bring in a little tiny bit of greens, because if we look at the color wheel, the opposite color, the complementary color to red is green. So we just want to put in just a tiny, 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 tiny little bit of green. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to make her look like the Hulk completely. We are going to push the color of the reds all the way to green. Now there are variations of green and you can play with it. You can get a little bit more of a yellow green or you can go a little bit more blue. I think it depends on what your reds are, but this is getting a little bit like too specific. I'd say try and get them looking just like the Hulk. Green, green, green. Right? And there, that's it. Just kidding. That would be awesome. Here are your finals. I hope you enjoy your image. So now that you've done that, you can't leave it like that, but what you do is you just bring your opacity down like to almost nil. I rarely go above 5, and even at 5, it looks a little too lifeless. Compared to that, it looks a lot better. So flipping in between those two, but the more my eyes rest on here, the more I start to see more green in them. At the beginning, when you do this, you're going to look at 5 or wherever you are. It depends on what you're pulling out and what you're putting back in. You're going to look at something and you might think that it's good because you were living up here, right? And your eyes are like super green town. So coming off of it, it's like, oh my gosh, look at all the reds in there. But the more that you settle on that, and the more you kind of just allow your eyes to get back to the neutral colors, it might look a tiny bit lifeless. Now this depends. what I like about this again is it's not about some thing telling you how to do it. You really have to trust your eyes. Um, and it gets a little artistic, which is nice too, I think. I'm going to bring her down to like 2%. Now, I do see a bit of red still in there, um, but I like that more than the 5 that we were at, right? And I might work through the image. The wonderful thing about a adjustment layer is you can change it later. So start, cleaning up the hair and then get back to it and go like, oh no, there's too many reds. Let's get back. Let's go to 3%. No, let's go back to 5. You know what? Let's go to 2. Now, you're going to notice in a lot of these shots then your lips are going to change, and if you're pushing it too far, it might look off. They probably won't, but it might. And if that's the case, then what you want to do is select the white layer of your adjustment layer. Get your brush and change your foreground color, I guess. Yeah, your foreground color to black. Now, if your background is black, all you have to do is press X. And if these are different colors, to reset it, just press D. Those are some really amazing keyboard shortcuts that you really should know, because if you're doing any bit of adjustment layer burning or dodging or any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be flipping through this all the time. So I would go to black and then go up to like 30 or something, zoom in and just take care of her lips. I'm using my mouse instead of my tablet, and so this is just going to be a shit job. But I'm only just doing this to show you how, and then you can do it way better than me. You could actually probably go way up higher. So now we're not going to see much of a difference because there's only 2% of it in there. But if you're picky and you're you're over analyzing, and no, I'm just kidding, not over analyzing. If it's something that's noticeable, then you need to fix it. So as you can see, I did a wonderful job here. And the way to check out your layers is just press Option and click on it, and then you can see what you've done. It's great if you're burning or dodging, because all the faces just start to look like aliens. The more you do it. So yeah, and as you can see with her hair too, when we pushed up the reds, there's a lot of red in her hair too. So it's up to your eyes, it's up to what you think. Now, with all of this said, now that the hulking's done, if you find that there's still patches of red and not a full overtone of skin red, you can go in and do some detail work. And this is what I used to do for all my reds. Now I just do it for very quick patchwork. I go down and make a selective color layer. I'm going to bring this down because I'm going to fill this with black, and the shortcut for that, well, to fill the layer, is Shift F5 and select black. And then, oh shit, you know what? Don't do that yet. You gotta get this going first. So make sure you're on your reds, and just push your magentas up to like -9. Now, if you go too far, she's going to like turn yellow, right? If you go this way, she's going to turn super magenta. So I just like pushing just like a tiny bit to like 9. It's very 11 is probably too far. It's all. Let's go -8 there. Now, what you do is you fill your layer with black. The keyboard again shortcut is Shift F5 to fill that layer as long as you're on the layer. And then I'm going to press X to get back to whites, and I'm going to bring it down to like 13 or something. Like, I don't know, I used to, before hulking, I'd have it at 30, but because of the hulking, I'm doing less, so like 15 or 20 or something. And then I'm just going to go in and do some patchwork. And, oh yes, thank you, text expander. And just suck out a little bit of areas that maybe still have a little bit too much red. But and this is probably why I live more in the world of an opacity of 2, because I'm still going in and doing a little bit more detail work, but it's really quick for her especially. But sometimes people get some red down here, and then I'll pump it up to like 20 or 30 and go to town. Now, it's super slight. You can see what I've done. I've just really quickly gone in here. The more you go up here, the more it's going to be noticeable. You're going to get like weird off colors. But if you're just sucking it down a bit, yeah, it's slight. So those two things together are going to help you get your reds out, hulking them up. Thanks for watching.